Before this year, I was a kid who loved a good cheeseburger and milkshake, always refraining from salads and greens. I didn't pay attention to the background of where my food was coming from, the packaging it was wrapped in, and what impact it had on the environment. All I thought about was how it tasted. At the start of 2018, my mom decided to embrace veganism, which at first, my sister and I thought was the lamest thing. To me at the time, a vegan was a hippie who lived in their camper van eating sunflower seeds in the middle of the forest. That being said, my mom, who is not a hippie, but who does eat sunflower seeds, continued as a vegan, though we made fun of her constantly. It honestly didn't register in my brain that a piece of pork was from a live animal a few days ago, that milk in a glass were from a cow tortured and separated from her calf at birth, and I overall didn't understand the concept of giving up animal products. Before this year, I also loved to shop and consume, never thinking about where my waste would go and how just one plastic bag was doing harm to our planet. I'd heard about people who live zero waste and only sent a super minimal amount of trash to the landfill each year, but to me, they sounded insane, and the idea of waste-free living sounded impossible. I definitely couldn't understand how I could give up packaging, plastic bags, and unreusable items altogether. I realize now the lack of awareness I was living with in my life. When I first arrived here in Bali, I was astonished by the beauty of the island, the vast ocean, and lush rice fields, but was disappointed by all the trash sitting in the road and the smell and sight of burning plastic in the field next to our house. I knew there was something I could do to help, I just didn't know what it was. In Canggu, where I live, there are restaurants and cafes galore, most of which are vegan. Eating plant-based seemed like a super popular idea here. I didn't think myself, an athletic boy who loves food, would choose to give up on meat and dairy. But little by little, I would talk with my mom on the way to tennis practice, and she would share all of her wisdom on veganism. She shared facts and statistics, but most importantly reminded me that that made me realize that just one person's actions really make a difference. Lately, vegan living and zero waste have been gaining popularity. People are becoming interested in eating less meat, composting, standing up for animal rights, and banning plastic items. Meatless restaurants are popping up all over the place, zero-waste shops are opening, and these lifestyles are becoming a trend. With big companies like Adidas and Nike coming out with shoes made of recycled plastic and other brands making clothes from plastic bottles, the world is becoming curious about these ideas. With shocking news coming out every day about global warming and natural disasters, society may just be starting to get that this is the only planet we have, and we need to save it before it's too late. This sounds so hopeless that some people may not even know where to start. We've evolved in the past in terms of supporting human rights, LGBTQ rights, and now we are starting to recognize animal rights, ocean rights, and environmental rights as well. The state of awareness brings us to a realization that we have choices to make. Once you become aware, you realize you need to make a choice. Which choice will it be? It can be tricky to go from being aware to actually making a change. As I was doing some research about the biggest contributors to global warming, deforestation, ocean acidification, and overuse of land, I was shocked to find that animal agriculture tops the list. The industry even causes more greenhouse gas emissions over all transportation systems combined. If we're talking numbers, 51% of greenhouse gas emissions are from the methane produced by the animals. You might not understand how animals could be causing global warming. But when the cows fart and belch, it lets out methane into the atmosphere. And when every single cow in the world produces between 70 to 100 kilograms of methane a year, it's a serious problem. But not only are the belches and farts harmful, all of the animal's feces either sits outside rotting or gets shoveled into the nearest river, which leads to the ocean, and believe it or not, is involved in the existence of the 500 nitrogen-flooded dead zones, killing countless fish and destroying coral. When talking about deforestation, animal agriculture is responsible for a shocking 91% of the destruction of the Amazon. Every second, an acre of rainforest is cut down, most of the time for land use to house livestock or to grow crops to feed the animals. How insane is that? Many people these days are deciding to cut down their environmental footprint by changing their light bulbs, installing solar panels, taking a short shower, and these are all great, but the single most important step you can take is changing what goes on your plate. Studies show that your environmental footprint is cut in half when you stick to a plant-based diet. You might think, how does just one person help? Well, did you know that to make just one hamburger, water equivalent to showering for 3 months is used? Not only do farmers use a lot of water growing food that the livestock eat, but they also have to supply the animals with a lot of drinking water. With the amount of grain the industry feeds livestock, the entire world could be fed, and there would still be plenty of food left. 815 million people are currently starving, while food that could feed 1.3 billion is being fed to the animals. By now you must understand that animal agriculture is truly negatively affecting our earth in so many ways. I mentioned how the industry is destroying the environment, forest, and ocean, but have you seen what goes on at a slaughterhouse or a dairy farm? These animals are being brutally killed and separated from their parents at birth, just so us humans can have a meal. Now, I've never been one of those kids that's super empathetic towards every single animal that gets killed, but after watching Cowspiracy, an incredible documentary about the meat industry and how nasty it is, I was horrified for the poor animals and horrified that I had been eating animal products all along. But meat is also totally unnecessary for your body, and so is chicken, pork, eggs, milk, and fish. According to the World Health Organization, red meat is classified as a carcinogen. And if you don't know what a carcinogen is, it's something that's proven to cause cancer. The answer is right in front of us. Veganism can save the planet. Now, when it comes to plastic pollution, if you didn't already know, every single year, the world uses 500 billion plastic bottles, an estimated 1 trillion plastic bags, and around 500 million plastic straws. But only 9% of all plastic is recycled. Most of it makes its way into the landfill or ocean, killing animals and also contributing to climate change. On March 1st, I decided to step on my commitment to the planet and went vegan and began making a conscious effort to minimize my waste for 1 month. I was scared, overwhelmed, and unprepared during the first week. Over the month, I learned how to compost, shop for vegan items and sustainable wrapping, and I learned that vegan food isn't disgusting, which is what many people assume. Finding vegan options is easier than you think. But I also had a few missteps, like when we flew to Singapore in the first week. We brought reusable water bottles and even snacks for the airplane in glass jars, but we forgot toiletries and had to use the mini shampoo and soap in the hotel. That was definitely a fail. My Small Footprint Bali is an Instagram account I created, intending to spread awareness about the topics of veganism and zero waste. I was contemplating whether I should create a zero-waste tote bag line or sell vegan items at a farmer's market, but I thought, these ideas have already been done, and I wanted to make an artifact that essentially is not going to become more waste in the end. Since the beginning of when I went vegan and zero waste in March, I've been taking photos and adding pictures of my experience, hoping to inspire others. I believe that one of the most effective ways to encourage a community to embrace a totally new lifestyle is not to pressure them into suddenly becoming perfect, but to make them more aware and help them start with little steps. After all, no one is flawless, especially me. Through Instagram, I believe I've gotten the attention of many in our community, such as green school parents, zero waste and vegan Instagrammers, and even stores like Alive grocery store in Canggu, and the company Behave Wax Wraps, who repost my photos and spread my account. I watched incredible documentaries called Cowspiracy, What the Health, and Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, that I 100% recommend. They graphically showed what goes on in slaughterhouses, shared shocking facts about the impact of eating meat, as well as plastic pollution, and most importantly, talked about how bad meat and dairy is for your body and how these foods are causing chronic illness, heart disease, and even cancer. Many people think vegans are weak because we don't get our protein from animals, but you can get more than enough of it from nuts, beans, and plants. There are even a lot of professional athletes that are vegan, including Kyrie Irving in the NBA, who's my favorite player. During this experience, I've become more aware as an individual. I think twice before buying a single-use item or a non-vegan snack. I choose to support local vegan restaurants and farmers markets instead of big, unhealthy chains. I'm amazed how much I've changed since the start of this project, which really shows that anyone can make a difference by educating yourself and starting with little steps. My 1 month goal of going vegan and zero waste is over, but I still try my best to keep these lifestyles going. Though I am obviously not perfect, I do feel like what I've learned has been life-changing, and I take a lot of time thinking about my decisions and their role on my health and the health of the planet. Now, because I live in Canggu and go to green school, I understand that I have it super easy. I am able to choose vegan and minimal waste options at school, at stores around the island, and am overall spoiled with opportunities to make a change. Many people all over the world live in areas with a lack of options. They may only be able to afford fast food, or they may live too far from the nearest organic restaurant. They may not be able to buy a reusable water bottle and rely on drinking from plastic ones. To have awareness allows choice, but to have choice is a privilege. With privilege brings a sense of responsibility. There are billions of people in the world who do not have the privilege to choose, who have to eat what they can. There are billions of people who don't have enough to eat. In becoming more aware about global issues, I really began to understand this. Even with people who live in these situations, I think everything starts with becoming aware and eventually, if you have the opportunity, making a difference. But if you do have the privilege to have choice, you have the responsibility to make the right choice. What is the right choice? One that impacts our world for the better? For equality, for equity, for sustainability? What do you choose? My experience has been incredible, and to sum up all that I've learned, I'll leave you with a few messages. Veganism and zero waste are essentially the same. Both are stripping back on what is unnecessary. Both leave the world less messy. Both are sustainable ways to live, and both can save the planet. Thank you.